What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Fly Like an Eagle podcast. Back again. My name is Scott, joined by always with my co-host Kyle, and we are almost 5 days post the Eagles' first win, Week 1 in Brazil over the Packers, 34-29. Obviously, me and Kyle did our post-game show, fairly certain right after the game. Kyle was a little intoxicated. I was tired as hell. So we're going to get into more of a diplomatic, more, I don't want to say the word sober, but more in the right state of mind, our thoughts. And we're really going to key in on how we feel a couple of days later. Of course, the Eagles play the Falcons on Monday night. Me and Kyle are going to be at that game live. It's ESPN. It's the home opener. Our first time going to a Birds game in a year. So it's pretty exciting stuff. Also, of course, we have our weekly pick'ems for week 2. We're going to review last week and see who won week 1. A couple of other things. We're going to talk all about NFL week 1. So glad football is back. It was overall a great week of football. In my opinion, the Eagles game and that Chiefs-Ravens were still the best. Lions-Rams was up there. But Kyle, how are you doing? And how did you enjoy week 1 overall?
Honestly, I didn't like week 1 at all. I thought week 1 had some of the slowest games of all time in the NFL's history. I thought all of the games were sloppy. It feels like nobody played in the preseason or even had a training camp, honestly. Most of the games, even at 1 o'clock, it just felt like the NFL wasn't back. I don't know if you have those same vibes as me, but I just feel, my years of watching, and I started watching in like 2002 or what I could remember of the sport. And it just felt like everything was just college-esque, kind of not ready, not prepared. And I feel like every single game was like the Brazil game. The field sucked. Nobody wanted to play. And hopefully week 2 is much better because week 1 was kind of underwhelming.
I wouldn't entirely agree with that just because I'm kind of used to this for at least week 1 and week 2. I feel like the overall product has been down for years, not saying that I like it or agree with it. And I believe I mentioned this on the show before that even Tom Brady, which he did an interview with Stephen A. Smith that I loved, and he was like brutally honest. So is Bill Belichick. And obviously, when you win that many Super Bowls, Hall of Famer legends, you get to say whatever you want, rightfully so.
Correct.
He basically said that, with the CBA, there's not enough practice time. The fundamentals, especially with quarterbacks, which there I will agree with you. We saw some apparently top 10 quarterbacks, our quarterback, Jalen Hurts included, make some like terrible decisions, throws an interception. It was across the league. Of course, Deshaun Watson had a terrible game. Just awful. Kirk Cousins as well. Of course, I wouldn't put him top 10. I'm sure you can name a few others where that is just kind of odd because I feel like the quarterback positions, that's where you can train the most in training camp and the off season by literally studying the playbook, practicing in-game decisions. Where am I going to throw the ball? Am I going to choose to throw the ball away? How to protect the ball? So I feel like that's the most position that you can practice because the other positions are more physical. Like you have to tackle or run through somebody. The quarterback, they wear red shirts all offseason and training camp. So they're literally just working on reading a defense. So that was a little bit of a concern. But like I said, I liked the way week 1 started on Thursday and Friday night. I thought those games were very entertaining. I will agree the Sunday games were not as much. I think they disappointed for sure. And then, like I said, Sunday night was good. Of course, last night, we're going to get to our picks and how we diced that up. But let's start with the Birds. So like I said at the top of the show, as I'm just getting to our show notes, how are you feeling overall about the game and the team? The game was on Friday. It's now Wednesday, the middle of the week. How are you feeling? Has your opinion changed at all, or just what are your vibes right now about the Eagles?
Well, my opinions are first and foremost pretty good. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had that game on Friday as a loss. Everyone knows that. For like the last 3 months, I didn't like anything about that game. I didn't like going to Brazil. I thought it was an official trap game, even though it was the first game of the season. It's crazy. You think about all the adversity and everything they had to go through in the offseason. The team collapsing, not firing Sirianni. Is Jalen Hurts going to go back to what he was in 2022? You brought in Saquon Barkley, who was an absolute stud, 3 touchdowns his first game as a Philadelphia Eagle. You have all these new pieces, these new coaches, and it seemed to me like they didn't even miss a beat. This team wasn't a team at the end of the year last year, and they started out sluggish. I understand that. Jalen Hurts had two turnovers. One was a bad snap. One was an interception where A.J. Brown fell down. I understand all that. He actually had 2 interceptions and 1 fumble, and we still scored 30 points. So that should tell you everything you need to know. Green Bay, unfortunately, we injured Jordan Love at the end of the game. It was an accident. It was a football play. Jalen Carter's not dirty. But at the end of the day, this is kind of crazy to me because I had this as a scheduled loss. It was one of my only losses where I felt confident that they would lose, and they still won the game. So as a whole, if they clean up what they did in the first quarter on, this team's not going to lose many football games this year. This team's way too talented to honestly not have so many close games this season. I feel like this team is going to blow a lot of teams out of the water. I don't think these games are going to be close if they clean it up. If they don't clean it up, we're going to see a lot of what we did last year at the beginning of the year. I just think this team has way too much talent. It showed on Friday, and I like what I saw. So, I think I had him at 12 wins this year. I'm going to stick with that for right now. But
I think we both had him at 13-4.
Yeah, I could easily see this team winning 15 ball games this year if they play like that.
So we finally agree on something. I do agree that it was great to see the team play the way that they did. And the most encouraging thing to me is like we're back in a sense where I have confidence that we are, number one, a football team, and number two, we can beat teams that are not as good as us. Yep. And we're going to compete with teams just as good, and we're going to be there till the end to beat anyone as well. Which is a great thing because we have a very favorable schedule this year. Absolutely. Obviously, there's no give me games in the NFL. I mean, these aren't like cupcake games, most of them, of course. But you have confidence now going into each and every game that you either expect you're going to win or we can win. Like last year at the end, of course, it was just no hope. Like we didn't know what the hell to expect. We couldn't beat anyone. Like I always bring back, we couldn't beat the Arizona Cardinals. We lost to the Giants, which we were trying to win that game in the beginning. Sorry. But the only biggest concern, of course, which you kind of, I'm glad you were like positive about and put that positive spin, but Jalen Hurts' game was such a mixed bag. I'm still going to give him, I would probably still give him like a B- overall, but it's tough because he could have thrown more interceptions than he did. One of those interceptions was dropped. Just couldn't, again, bad decision making. Again, in the red zone when they had an opportunity to put 3 points on the board at the end of the game just to pad their lead. And I guess has that Superman syndrome. But, I'm obviously listening to a lot of media and videos, reports this week. It's kind of on the coaches too to set him up in positions to not do that now because he is still kind of a young quarterback. Of course, his contract's huge, but run the ball in situations where it's like you're asking him to do an impossible play for a first down or a touchdown. Just take the safe route because we are good enough to win when we just don't make mistakes. Would you agree?
Yeah, correct. I'm going to rebuttal off of that. So Jalen Hurts, to me, I loved what I saw out of him because he did have a mixed bag, like you said. And I think he is the perfect quarterback for the system. I think he's the perfect quarterback for this team, and I think he's the perfect quarterback for these playmakers. Adversity struck early, and especially coming off of that collapse last year, he was gonna have to deal with pressure almost immediately because you know how many fans we had there. You could hear the boo birds come out at any given time. But this is a guy that said, "Listen, I got this," and he made it happen. That beautiful pass to AJ Brown going all the way to the end zone, awesome. Saquon Barkley acting like he played with the team for the last 6 years, not the 1 year he signed with, not the first year in a 3-year contract he signed with us. It just seemed like after that first quarter and after that 1.5 quarters, this team was back to what they were in 2022. And I think that's what I was impressed with. I was the biggest Jalen Hurts hater, like him coming out of college. I think everyone knows that. But to me, I'm going to compare him to somebody, and you might not agree with this. So other than the wheels, he is the most comparable quarterback right now to Nick Foles. And the reason why I'm saying that is because he makes a lot of dumb decisions at times, but at the end of the day, he always wins football games. And for me, as not only an Eagles fan, but as a football fan, I only care about wins. I don't care about flashiness. I don't care about how ugly it looks. I care about if you win the games. And the fact that we have this guy that hasn't lost many games as a Philadelphia Eagle in his career, I'm all in on him. I think he's the perfect quarterback for this team.
Wow.
And someone brought up in the comments section that Hurts isn't the problem. It's the below average defense. Now, I'm going to discuss the defense in a little bit, but the thing about Jalen Hurts is I'm ready to roll with him. I thought he had an absolute ugly game in Brazil, and they still put up 30 points, and he still led this team. So I was completely wrong about this guy. I'm ready to roll with him, and I can't wait to see him win a Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, getting to the defense, and I'll let you talk, Scotty. Getting to the defense.
They won us the game. They won us the game, pretty much, right?
You guys cannot blame this defense for playing on that shitty-ass field on Friday. In the first quarter, maybe, like I said, 1.5 quarters, the run defense was spectacular. It was absolutely spectacular.
Can we talk about the red zone stops? Like, that's why we won.
Yeah, it was spectacular. You put this team on a decent field, I think they're going to be dynamic. I think they're going to be excellent. You cannot judge it based off of one game. It's not a below-average defense. I said they were a C- going into the season, guilty as charged. They shocked me, especially Zach Bond. That motherfucker can play. 2 sacks, 11 tackles. Like, come on, give me a break. Like, we have some playmakers on this defense. Quinyon Mitchell's a natural. I'm ready to go for the season. I'm fucking pumped up, man. I really am.
No, I love it. Like, I was kind of like just saying and putting my 2 cents in. We would not have won that game if the defense did not hold the Packers to field goals in the first quarter. Like, just do the math. If they would have scored 14, we would have lost. So, yeah, was the defense bend but don't break? But again, I always say, what are your expectations for the defense? It's 2024. There's no more Chicago Bears of 85. There's no more Ravens of 2000s. The defense gives up points. It's what defense can make a stop in the biggest moment or get that turnover or somehow score a touchdown with a pick six or fumble recovery. That makes a good defense. Of course, we want to hold them to the least amount of yards and points per game, yada, yada, yada. But we have seen time and time again, especially with the Chiefs, where they do not have a great defense, but they show up in the best moments. Now, last year they were pretty good, and their defense is obviously much improved from the early Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid teams. But again, it's an offensive league. I love defense too. Hey, we're all Eagles fans, seriously. Yeah. But the quarterback is the highest paid player. The offense, the salary cap, the salary hits, the contracts, it's like not even close how much the offense is getting paid compared to the defense. So just keep that in mind. Yep. Obviously, Jeff, you can have your opinion. Now, responding to what you said, Kyle, I actually will agree. I love the Hurts Foles comparison. And, you read my mind. I was hoping that you were going to say, just wins, because that is what matters the most. Obviously, if you want to get down to talent, Hurts is more athletic than Foles. I would say that they're both probably the same at throwers of the football. I mean, we've seen both of them make every single throw that they've needed to make for the most part. So yeah, I do like that comparison. Now, I don't know how Foles would necessarily fare in today's league. Like if he was our starter right now, just because the chance that Hurts can run and his versatility and escapability and just being mobile in the pocket, like that does help our offense too, because you have that man watching Hurts, that man in the box that takes someone out of coverage.
Yeah.
But I totally agree. And we do have a comment from Brendan here. Kirk is going to throw 2 interceptions, maybe a pick 6. This should be a blowout of Vikings fan. We are going to get to our Falcons preview in 1 second. But we will continue with, this was a question in the offseason, and it's still coming up. Now, I do not believe the starters should have played, and I do have the facts now. The Eagles have won 4 straight season openers from 21 to 24 this year. And I just will take the mistakes and the rust versus the possibility of any season-ending injuries in training camp or in a preseason game. I mean, let's just be honest. If anyone from this O-line went down, the team would not be as good. Correct. If any of our receivers went down, God forbid, Saquon with the injury history, Hurts with the injury history. So I'm fine with it, and we won the game. I mean, you said, like, do you overall agree, or you still wish they would have played in preseason, even though there was the chance of injury?
I mean, I'm always going to wish they played in preseason because, God forbid, something did happen where they got injured or we lost the game based off of players not being ready. I'd always want the players to get in a rhythm before the fact, so I would still have them play in the preseason. Nothing changes off of that, but the fact of the matter is them looking that good after, like I said, the collapse last year and new players coming in, new coaches, them looking that good and finishing that game after starting off so shitty. I got to hand it to them. I really do. And, I might sound like a prick here, but they're going to blow the fucking doors off the Atlanta Falcons. Like, I'm sorry. I agree with Brendan. And usually I don't say this. The Atlanta Falcons looked like pure trash last week. They looked awful.
Yeah, they did.
And if the Eagles play from start to finish like they did in Brazil, like at the end, this is going to be like a 40-17 game. Like, they're going to kick the shit out of them. And, it's crazy because you haven't heard me talk about this team like this since 2022. And I even last year, I didn't even say blowout. Last year, I was like, yeah, they're winning games, but I'm not going to say blowout. This team reminded me a lot of 2022 on Friday. Like, they really
I would agree. I would agree. Now, we're obviously going to get to the Eagles and Falcons right after this, but I just want to go back to my point because you said you weren't a fan of week 1 because of the rustiness and just the games in general. But like we said, a lot of other team starters did play in the preseason, but they were still rusty. But the Eagles didn't. They won their game. So, like, does it really matter? And, like, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, the NFL, you're going to have teams that aren't ready. Like, I completely understand that. But as a whole, like, grand scheme of things, like every single team not looking ready, bit of a problem. I'm not going to lie to you. Especially for the product being what it is. So many alcoholic beverages being sold at bars. Bars make a lot of money. You want to give them a good product while they're spending their money. It wasn't a good look. It was the worst I've ever seen the league look on a week 1 in years, to be honest.
But they had the highest ratings, we found out today. So
yeah, and I told you on the phone before this that it has a lot to do with it being on tablets and phones now. They put everything together. It's not just on cable TV. You can watch it anywhere. So that has a lot to do with it. And, I think for the product, they got to be better. They have to be better. They have to send a memo to these teams that you have to be ready to play these games because this product is probably the best. It's easily the best in America, but it possibly could be the best in the world. And you don't want to ruin it with BS like teams not being ready to play. It's dumb.
Yeah, it's like they're kind of hypocrites because with that field in Brazil, that's something that they can control. And now you're saying, well, teams be ready. but like you're not freaking ready with that field. Now we know it was kind of a freak thing because the day before it wasn't as humid, it wasn't raining, but I'm sure they knew at least a few hours before the field was completely drenched. So, the NFL, again, they're billionaires. They care about their bottom line. They're very stingy. And again, why would they change when you have the most people watching ever? Companies only implement new things when they're losing money, or there's a lawsuit, or there's even just some type of like public defaming of something, or they're called out on Twitter, or like, but if that doesn't really happen at a grand scale, I don't think anything's going to change. Jeff Fox again. We had 163 yards on the ground, and they was rushing 10 yards before they was touched, broke tackles, and got another 15. Who's GD? Am I stupid? Who's he talking about? We? Maybe he's saying we had 163 yards on the ground. Yeah, but that's actually leads us right in to my next point that Saquon Barkley today was officially named NFC Offensive Player of the Week. And that's obviously great to see. I don't know if anyone necessarily saw that coming right away week one. But like I said on our post game to you, Kyle, it was just breathtaking watching Saquon run the football. It looked effortless. You called this from day one about, how good he was at Penn State and how much he would be better here, that he's with a real team and not the Giants. And I kind of was caught up in like, I forgot what an elite running back looks like because we haven't had one for so long. Now, the only thing with him is how much do you want to run him? Because we know he has an injury history. Of course, knock on wood, we don't want to be negative here, but he did have 24 carries, and I believe he had 106 yards. I don't even know. I would like to see him maybe, I don't want to cap him, of course, if you need to win the game. But I think I don't want to see him with 24 carries every single week. Do you agree or no? Your audio cut out. Still can't hear you. Unless. So while Kyle is getting his audio fixed, and he's probably going to just log back on, Saints fan 141. I drafted Saquon in fantasy. He did very well for me, hoping for the same this week. LOL. Yeah, I mean, obviously, he was probably your first round pick. I mean, no matter what, Saquon is a RB1. It's just him and McCaffrey. Of course, McCaffrey didn't even play this week due to injury when the 49ers beat the Jets on Monday night. So Saquon was in a league of his own among every running back in the league. I don't really think any running back off the top of my head from week one even came close to the impact that Saquon made. And the fact that he did that in his first game as an Eagle, coming from a division rival on prime time in Brazil, Friday night game that rarely ever happens in the history of the NFL, was seriously, seriously impressive. It definitely was. And now we have Kyle back. You good, man?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. So I put my microphone off because the phone was ringing, and I forgot to turn it back on. Then all of a sudden, I spilt my espresso all over my keypad.
Oh, my God. You're a mess, dude. Come on now.
Yeah, I know. Definitely. I was in New York City.
Are you all right? You good?
So, yeah, I'll tell you this right now. So stuff like this happens, especially during live. And honestly, I think it's a good thing it happened because I won't make this mistake again. But I was actually in New York City. I was in New York City for the 9/11 event today, and I drank like 5 cups of coffee, and this is like my technically 7th because it's espresso, so I'm wiry. So that's probably why I knocked it over accidentally, but it does happen, unfortunately. But
so before you cut out, I was asking about Saquon Barkley, and do you ideally? You probably heard what I said, but the 24 carries a game. Do you want to see him have that many carries a game, or would you rather? Have some type of cap or just watch out for him because you don't want to like run him into the ground or no?
It's all circumstantial. It depends on where we're at in the game, and it depends where we're at on the field. Because if we're passing the ball fluently and no one can stop it, I mean, you'll only run Saquon Barkley at the end of the game to chew up the clock. Or you'll put Kenny Gainwell in there to chew up the clock. You wouldn't have to necessarily use Saquon Barkley. But for the
I don't
most,
think I don't even think Kenny Gainwell had a carry. Maybe one, but I don't even think he
I think
did.
he had 2. I think that was the total. But 1 second, guys. I'm gonna get more paper towels. I'm sorry. Right back.
No problem. So yeah, obviously Saquon is a huge asset to this team. He's the second best player. I'll still put AJ Brown ahead of him just because I do value wide receivers over the running back position in general. But this offense is just absolutely dynamite. Again, like Kyle said, we didn't even play our best game and we still excelled. And we never didn't have that feeling like that we couldn't come back or we couldn't win the game because we know we have so many weapons that can just explode at any moment. And also, Dotson is still getting accustomed to the playbook. So he didn't even have a target. I know he was on the field. That's a little bit. And I've heard like really good things about him. I feel like he's still like to be determined on, is he? I mean, I've heard him called a wide receiver 1. I don't think I would necessarily go that crazy. But I mean, again, all we needed was a 3. And I just still want to see, I want to just see what the kid's made out of for sure. So.
All right, Mary on Facebook says, I'm putting our tickets to the game for sale as my daughter is sick in the hospital. I'm so sorry, Mary. So we can't make it. If you want to send me a message, we'll see what happens. We have 3 of us, so we'll see. But yeah.
Thank you though. Yeah, hope she gets well soon. Sorry to hear that.
And Jeff Fox said 10 to 12 carries would be good. I think it's a little bit low. But,
yeah. I mean, if he can get 100 yards, I'm good with that, but that would be a little. I mean, my sweet spot would probably be somewhere from like 18 to 20.
Okay.
And then, of course, he's going to get targets too. He's going to get passes thrown his way. So that's more touches.
Like to me, the most special thing was the wheel route. That was the biggest.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was amazing. If him and Jalen could do that the whole year, like we're unstoppable.
And you know how many times this offense, even past head coaches, they've tried to run that play here with different players and it didn't work out. I feel like Miles Sanders, for some reason in my mind, I feel like it worked like once with him. Does that ring a bell to you or no?
Yeah, it probably worked once or twice with him, but it'll work like 10 times with Saquon Barkley because he's that good.
Yeah. No, it was a beautiful throw, a beautiful catch. And it was just, again, Saquon made it look effortless and just looked like a monster, like a freight train, like we were saying in the post-game show. So that's super exciting stuff. Congrats to Saquon again, Offensive Player of the Week. And, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins it again sooner rather than later. And honestly, if he keeps playing like this, I could see him being an Offensive Player of the Year candidate, no doubt. All right, so the time has come. Finally, we are getting on to the Birds versus the Dirty Birds, the Atlanta Falcons versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And in recent seasons, now these teams have not played since 2021. I was looking up their little history, rivalry, if you want to call it, earlier today. And that kind of surprised me. I'm like, oh, okay, it's been a few years. But before that, we played them from 2015 to 2019 every single year. Of course, we played them in the playoffs in 2017. We are recently 4-2 against them. They beat us in 2019. It's kind of like a forgettable game with Carson Wentz. I think it was in the beginning of the season. It was like a Sunday night game, if I recall, possibly. Of course, none of that matters. It's all about this season with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins comes back to Philadelphia for the 3rd season in a row on week 2. So that is just weird within itself. And you think that would be an advantage for him, but he's 0-2. Now, last year, of course, we were not as good of a team as we think we are this year. Kirk Cousins did that was a Thursday game when DeAndre Swift went off, but Kirk Cousins did shred our defense and they did almost come back. And then I remember they had so many. How many turnovers did they have in that first half where they just could not hold on to the ball? It was like hot potato.
At least two. At least two.
Yeah, that was weird. But the main thing is here, and I've also seen, is Kirk Cousins hurt? Why did he play so bad? Honestly, I think this could come down still to Penix, that draft pick. Again, I think people are underestimating the emotional toll, confusion, uproar that creates, especially for a quarterback. We know that they are sensitive and have egos as well. So he's probably feeling a little bit of pressure from that. He's just older. He's coming off of the injury. And again, he's never been, he's not the best quarterback in the league. He's put up stats. He doesn't win in the playoffs. He doesn't win in prime time. So there's not really any reason why anything would change this time around, especially how they lost to the Steelers. And they lost to the Steelers without them scoring an offensive touchdown, which is pretty pathetic. Which is pretty pathetic. Really yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about this game?
Like I said before, I think it has a potential to be a blowout. I didn't see anything from the Atlanta Falcons that scared me, especially because they were playing at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who they don't even know who they're starting at quarterback. Like this week, they're saying Russell Wilson's fine, but then again, they're saying that Justin Fields is going to start. So what I saw from the Atlanta Falcons last week is ineptitude. I saw a bunch of that. Kyle Pitts looked better, I guess. But like you said, Kirk Cousins could be thinking, why the hell am I even here? I know I signed for a shitload of money, but they drafted a young kid quarterback to literally breathe on my shoulder, and that some people feel a type of way about that because, he thought he was the guy, but then again, he's not the guy because they're ready to go with a kid that they drafted really early.
Also, isn't also Penix like he's like 25? He's not like the other young guns. Isn't he a little bit older?
Penix is 23, I think. I'll look that up so you don't have to.
Yeah, I thought he was a little bit older, which was the even weirder thing. I'm pretty sure he was at least like 24, but I'm not 100% certain on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, Michael Penix he played at Indiana and Washington. He is 24.
Yeah, and when's his birthday?
May.
Okay, so he'll be 25 in 25.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, like Hurts is what, 26. So he should be, he's going to start next year. Like, you do have the Jordan Love situation, but you would think Jordan Love was a regular like 22-year-old coming out of the draft.
I'll check that out for you right now.
Yeah, so that's a concern. And then I do believe the Cousins contract is for 2 years, but it's just a terrible situation for him. And again, this guy has made his money. I know he wanted to go to Atlanta. I think his wife's family is from the area, so on and so forth, whatever. But he is the most overrated player maybe ever in NFL history to some extent. For the amount of money he's gotten, knock on wood, Sam Bradford, there's been other examples of this. Yeah. And obviously Kirk Cousins is better than Bradford ever was. But, would he get another job after Atlanta? Probably. I know he's getting old now and the injuries. But, I wouldn't want this guy to be my quarterback. That's for sure.
It depends how much you paid me to watch.
Seriously. We do have a comment from Jeff. I think Cousins still a little worried about that injury. Pittsburgh was diving at his feet. Yeah, but I also don't think his coordinators put him in a good position to win again. They have BJ Robinson. Like, he has so much talent. I'm a huge fan of his. And again, like, he's not a focal point of their offense for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. They also have not utilized their tight end, who they took in the first round, to his fullest potential when he was, listed as a stud. And another thing with the Falcons, they have not been good since 2017. They are a losing franchise the past few years, and honestly, that is when we beat them in the playoffs, like when we won the Super Bowl. So just think back, they have not been good since that time.
Awful.
So not only is Kirk Cousins trying to get over whatever he's getting over physically, mentally, emotionally, there's also just a stench of losing that they have to flip the switch. They hired Arthur Smith, fired him. Now they have Raheem Morris, who I think deserved another chance. Obviously, he was the Bucs head coach. Probably remember it was all the way back in like 2010. Then they had Dan Quinn, who was successful, got them to the Super Bowl, who probably should have never been fired in the first place.
Depends.
That was me. Even though, I know they collapsed, but the Falcons don't make the Super Bowl too often. I'll just say that. But back to this.
They had Dan Quinn and Kyle Shanahan on that team.
Yeah, and of course, they definitely wish they would have kept Shanahan. Yeah. Now, breaking down this individual game, obviously it being at home, like that's the number one reason why I think we are going to win. Number two, their defense did play well, but like let's not forget who they were playing. Russell Wilson. Well, actually, no, Justin Fields, basically. Wait, and he's what? The 37th best quarterback in the league, and that might be being kind.
Yeah.
So
if you want to call him a quarterback, he runs more than he throws. That's
a good point too. And none of Pittsburgh's offensive weapons are in the same league as our top three: Saquon, Devontae, and AJ Brown. Like it's just not even close. So it's like Atlanta's not. At least based off last week and on paper now, they're not better in us in any way. We know Kirk Cousins does not play well here, and especially not on prime time. So if I'm a Falcons fan, I'm just like expecting to lose, to be honest. Like, why wouldn't you? And, this is when the Eagles are going to turn it up and we're going to start our winning streak, in my opinion. And, they're just roadkill in our way. Right.
Yeah, people like Slitter are going to be unhappy, but whatever. at least they still got the Dirty Bird song or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah, no Super Bowl to show for it.
Yep. In all seriousness, without joking, real talk, I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to get murdered on Sunday. I think there's a possibility that
Monday. The game's Monday.
Yeah, Monday. I think there's a possibility that Kirk Cousins could get extremely hurt in this game. I really do. I just think that our pass rush is going to bring it this week, and everything's going to go wrong for them. It's going to be a blowout, and I can't be happier.
I would completely agree. I guess we can both fill out our pick for week 2. Sounds like we're definitely both going with the Birds. First score, I'm not going to pick as big of a blowout as you said in the beginning. I don't know if that's your official score or not.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
I'm going to say I'm going to say 37-17, which is kind of similar to yours. I was thinking 21, but I'll say 37-17.
Yeah, and that's being modest. Honestly, we could say that they're going to score 7 points, but we're going to be realistic and say, hey, listen, we're going to take the foot off the gas. And
they'll get a garbage time touchdown. Yeah, right.
Exactly. Will be nice. But yeah, we both have it marked down as an Eagles easy victory.
Absolutely. Now, before the season, the Falcons were hyped up as hell, and I thought this would be at least a game. I still think that we would win because we were at home and it's our home opener.
Yeah.
But now it's like, I don't know who was picking the Falcons. I have a picture from NFL.com where it was a clean sweep. They all picked the Eagles.
Now, this is going to be one of those games where they're going to play Rocky on third down when we're up by like 30, and it's going to be extremely disrespectful.
And it doesn't even feel like a trap game. There's no trap games in week 2 when like the teams play just one game.
Yep.
But it just doesn't even seem in the realm of a possibility. And it's not even being like cocky or arrogant or overly confident. It's just there's just tell me any type of way that the Falcons would win this game. There is none, right?
There's nothing about this team or franchise that scares me. They're losers. They literally had a 28-3 lead in the third quarter with like 5 minutes to go in the Super Bowl. I don't care who you're facing. You could face Tom Brady, Joe Montana. You could face Jesus or God. All right. At the end of the day, you're up 28-3 with 5 minutes to go in the third quarter of the Super Bowl, and you don't close it out. That's embarrassing. You're never going to win. Awful team. If we lose to this team, I won't feel good about the season at all. There's no way they're losing to this team. There's no
Especially
fucking way.
Yeah, and they're at home. Like, come on.
Losers.
We're going to be so happy to be on a normal field again. Mm-hmm. Seriously. They're going to be so juiced up even for that. But, yeah, and like you said, I think the Falcons, they're still not recovered clearly from that collapse. And no one saw that coming. Like, at halftime, you could have just turned the game off. You're like, the Patriots, they're done.
No. Like, honestly, if you look back at it, I was kind of sad because I was thinking, wow, the Atlanta Falcons actually won a Super Bowl before my Philadelphia Eagles. All of a sudden, nope.
Yeah, and we would win the next year later.
Yep.
So, obviously, both picking the Eagles. We're going to be at the game. That's definitely going to be fun and exciting. Now we're going to get into our weekly picks. Well, we want to review last week first, and I will brag that I did beat Kyle by one game by the hair of my chinny chin chin. I went 8-7. I went 9-7. Kyle went 8-8. So again, average for both of us.
All right, before you brag about mediocrity, I got to read this comment. So you really think Philly can stop the run after what Green Bay done? Yeah, because here's the thing. Bijan Robinson, everyone's touting him like the next big thing in the NFL. I'm sorry, I was never that big on Bijan Robinson, especially because you put him on a team like Atlanta and not like a team like the Cowboys where he could actually flourish. Atlanta stinks, all right? B.J. Robinson's a good running back. He's not a great running back. So I'm not scared of him. If he's the only thing I have to worry about, him and Kyle Pitts, whatever. This team's just – I don't even know why they're even playing the game. It's not going to be close.
And Jeff sounds really worried about the defense, but the field really – I mean, it's not an excuse.
Our field is
good. I'm saying the field in Brazil, even Vic Fangio said it affected the pass rush, which you never actually hear a coach come out and say that. He said that today. Mm-hmm. And it was the same case in the Super Bowl. That's why there was no defense played, because that field was so slippery. Mm-hmm. So I think that you will be pleasantly surprised by the defense. And again, they didn't even play that bad. I would say they played average to a bit above average, which is all we need with this offense. So I would pump the brakes. I saw your earlier comment about, are we going to trade someone in the secondary? Like, who do we need to replace in the secondary right now? Like, I don't understand.
Talking about Bradbury. He's not going to be back for 8 weeks.
Okay, but I don't think we miss Bradbury in Brazil. We're gonna have Isaiah Rodgers back. So
yeah.
I mean, Reed Blankenship and CJ are your safeties. Reed surprised me with that great interception. Darius Slay played fine. Obviously, we saw Quinyon Mitchell, very promising. Avonte Maddox, yeah, he sucked. But again, we're going to have Isaiah Rodgers. But yeah, you did tell me that. Again, I think he was a decent player a few years ago. But whatever, he's not going to be playing, hopefully. So you're going to have Slay, Isaiah Rodgers, and Quinyon Mitchell. So I don't know where you need to upgrade in the secondary. That's just me, though. Mm. So back to me bragging about mediocrity. I did win. We're going to do our picks again. I guess the only thing of note here is like our lock of the week. I know you changed yours on Sunday, but the Bengals losing to the Patriots. I mean, this was the shock of the weekend and maybe the shock of the season for a little bit, at least.
Yep.
And like, what is going on with that offense and Joe Burrow? Like, that is just... It doesn't make any sense, and if I'm a Bengals fan, my head's in sand after that.
I think Joey Cool has finally cooled down a bit. Yeah, I mean that's what it comes down to. I mean, Gerard. This is what I'll say though. Gerard.
Now, Jamar Chase didn't play because he's holding out, or is it he was hurt?
He played.
Did he play? I thought he was.
He played.
I swore that he didn't play.
Gerard Mayo. This is a game where Gerard Mayo just had his defense ready to play, and the Bengals couldn't do anything.
Well, this is really weird. So I think the Bengals offered Jamar Chase a contract extension today, and he turned it down. So I
Yeah,
think
because
his
they're
mind, something with his mind is on the contract. I knew it was something was up with him.
yeah, he wants like the most money all time as a wide receiver or something.
I mean, I would give it to him. Would you not?
Depends on the situation.
I mean, if you were the Bengals, I would. They need him a
Yeah,
thousand
they do
percent.
need him. They definitely need him, especially because T. Higgins is out.
And T. Higgins is not a number one.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like we were both relying on T. Higgins to be in that lineup saying lock of the week. And he wasn't playing. So that's actually kind of big if you think about it.
Now, do you think Joe Burrow's issue? Obviously, he has a huge online presence. He's very popular. The dyeing of the hair, the whatever, the photo shoots, just everything he's doing is like, does that have anything to do with the way he's playing? Is he distracted or like that doesn't mean anything?
I don't know. Maybe he's having a quarter life crisis. Who fucking knows? All I know is that this guy, like, he's been touted as a top 3 quarterback every single year since he came into the league. And this Sunday, he looked anything but. So, I mean, honestly, he's got to get his act together, and he's got to get his act together quick because you guys have to understand something. They lost Joe Mixon. So now their running backs are Zach Moss and Chase Brown. All right. They're not premier running backs. They're not marquee running backs. So you already lost a dynamic playmaker in Joe Mixon. Now you're dealing with a contract headache in Jamar Chase, your roommate in college, by the way. T. Higgins is out. Hurst isn't there anymore, his tight end. So they're figuring stuff out over there in Cincinnati. If they don't figure it out quick, it could be downhill pretty quick.
Now, their only silver lining is that the Ravens lost and the Browns also look like they're in shambles and Pittsburgh's not good.
Oh,
So it's still gonna be between the Ravens and the Bengals, but right now the Ravens look a hell of a lot better. The thing, of course, everyone goes back to is Joe Burrow's the only quarterback to ever beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And I still think he's a really good quarterback, but like, how long can you live off of that one game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that was the biggest shocker for me. Anything for you? I know you said that you weren't a fan of these games on Sunday. How do you feel about the Jets just literally rolling over for the 49ers, and the 49ers didn't even have Christian McCaffrey?
I think I was more shocked about how the Jets defense played than anything else. Aaron Rodgers looked good for the most part. It's funny because on my fantasy team, I know that's a different segment. I know I'm going off the rails, but on my fantasy team, I picked up Alan Lazard on waivers, and I think he's going to be a stud. So if anything good going for the Jets, that's one of them. But they really, really need Hassan Reddick back if they want to do anything because their defense was pretty much non-existent against San Fran. They ran all over them. They passed all over them. It just wasn't a close game. And Aaron Rodgers was only on the field 18 minutes the whole game. And he actually looked pretty decent the time he was in there. But if you're not in there, you can't win a football game. It's really that simple.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with you there. I mean, like we said last week on our Wednesday show, the Jets are still the Jets to me until proven otherwise. Aaron Rodgers couldn't do it in Green Bay alone. He's definitely not going to be able to do it in New York, New Jersey Jets alone. So yeah, luckily I believe they have an easier schedule coming up. They're not playing one of the best teams in the league in the 49ers, who they really impressed me as well, which I'm going to get to in a moment. Because I actually have a new segment that I'm doing. And we actually are going to get to that now. We're going to do our picks at the end of the show. So this is called Scott Stands, and this is who I'm standing from week 1 in the NFL.
All right, let's hear who you're standing.
Saquon Barkley, number 1. He won Offensive Player of the Week for a reason. Of course, it's kind of beating a dead horse now, but why wouldn't we want to brag about our new all-pro top 2 running back? This guy is a game changer for us behind our offensive line with all of our weapons. Again, he won Offensive Player of the Week for a reason. He's number 1, and he's definitely going to be on my list for weeks to come if he keeps playing like this.
Now, for all of you guys that don't know what standing means, standing comes from and originates from a song named Stan from the Eminem album Marshall Mathers LP. Now, Stan, if you guys don't know about it, Stan was an obsessive fan that stalked Eminem he wrote him like 3 letters, and Eminem couldn't get back to him because he was so busy, and he ended up driving his pregnant girlfriend off a bridge. So, I mean, I've never liked the term standing, but I guess I understand it. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it's also, Scott Stain S. I'm sure you see what I did there. And I feel like I would say most Gen Zs know what Stan means. I'm not sure the age bracket of our viewers, you might be able to check that info more than I can.
Mm-hmm.
So number 2, it has to be the San Francisco 49ers. To just handily beat Aaron Rodgers in the Jets. I know you said Rodgers played well, but they scored a garbage time touchdown. And Rodgers wasn't in the game to make the score a little bit better than it looked. And the 49ers didn't have Christian McCaffrey. Right. Now, I was someone where I thought it was possible that this team might be just a tad not as good as they were last year. But judging off of Monday night, that doesn't appear to be the case at all. They were completely hitting on all cylinders. Again, they made the Jets look like the Jets of who they are, especially with not Aaron Rodgers. So they are clearly the Eagles' biggest competition still in the NFC and, just in the NFL in general for any team. So they're number 2 on my stand list. And again, this is kind of like an elite stand list so far, for sure. And now number 3 on my list would have to go to.
All right, 1 second. Can you hear? Wait. I think I plugged it in the wrong thing. Wait, hold on. I plugged in the wrong thing.
No, you're good. I'll wait. All
right, 1 second. I think I got to plug it into the mic, actually. It's been a long time since I did this. All right, so.
Sorry for the technical difficulties, guy.
It's not technical difficulties. Yeah, I think we're good now.
We got spilled espresso and we're changing mics. I'm kidding.
Pretty much. But no.
So I was going to get my last one. Number 3 has to be CJ Stroud from the Houston Texans. I loved the way that they put Indianapolis away. Of course, that game was on the road. Division rival week 1 is obviously never easy, and they picked up right where they left off last year. Love D'Amico Ryans as a coach too. And I think CJ Stroud is proved that, last year wasn't a fluke. And he is a great quarterback in this league. There was a lot of hype for the Texans, a lot of hype, and they won their first game. So that's great for them. And then I do have an honorable mention, which I did not actually see this coming because I picked them to lose week 1. And honestly, the overall team played well. But of course, their quarterback, Caleb Williams, really just looked like a true leader of a franchise out there. And to do that for a Chicago Bears franchise who has just not had any good quarterbacks, let's just be honest, really at all in their history, I was very, very impressed with just like his poise because the Titans were winning that game. And honestly, the Titans probably should have won. Because Will Levis, obviously more experienced in his brief playing career, he looks to be the starter for the Titans. Of course, I wouldn't want to be a Titans fan right now.
No,
just because they just are kind of irrelevant and whatever. You lose to the Bears, who just rookie quarterback. And also rookie quarterbacks usually lose their first game, especially like top 5 picks. But again, I was very impressed with Caleb Williams, how he adjusted and how he won his first game. So that's an honorable mention for me. Goes Saquon, 49ers, CJ Stroud, and then an honorable mention, Caleb Williams. Now for you, I know we're going to do something together here, which I think this might be a little bit more up your alley. You might be good at this. Who are Scott and Kyle canceling?
Who are Scott and Kyle canceling?
I want you just to lay and rip into someone, some team. It also can just be anything about the NFL in general, owners, refs, stadium, fans.
All right, so I'm obviously canceling Brazil and their whole stadium because At the end of the day, that was just a flat out embarrassment. The only thing I liked about it was the fact that it was played on a Friday night. I actually enjoyed that. I'm not going to lie to you. It was good to drink a couple cocktails, like 5 or 10 Surfsides, and have a good time. But at the end of the day, it was just an absolute travesty. The field was a mess. You had a bunch of fans from, it looked like Brazil, that wore Tampa Bay jerseys, Arizona Cardinal jerseys. Like it was a pattern of fucking suck. Like it was awful. All right. And that's my first. My second, I mean, obviously they shouldn't even be cancelable, but I'm going to cancel them again if they weren't already canceled. The New York Giants.
New York Giants.
Because at the end of the day, it's like I made fun of them the whole offseason. I said they're going to be a 3-win team at best. I don't even think they're going to win three games. This franchise is the easiest to figure out. They're awful. They never change anything. They paid a quarterback who is scared to play there. It might have something to do with the ACL injury. They get and draft Malik Neighbors, who is a stud, by the way. He's absolutely phenomenal. He's going to waste his career there because they don't know what they're doing. Joe Shane's an idiot. Their fans are morons. Brian DeBall is an overrated head coach. Like, it's just a complete clusterfuck, and it's never changing. We're never going to get a rivalry back because the Giants are in that mode of sucking. So I'm just like, I'm canceling them. I might have to revert the rivalry back to the Cowboys. And I've never really had a big rivalry with the Cowboys. I've always hated the Giants more. But how can you pick and hate on somebody that has consistently brought nothing to the table? Like, literally nothing to the table. It's like beating up a kid in gym class, throwing 5 dodgeballs at his face, like over and over and over again when he's not even athletic. It's just, I can't do it anymore. They're canceled. Bye-bye. Fuck off.
Do you want to say one thing? I did watch Bad Dog's post-game reaction. I'm sure you might have caught it too. The fact that he actually said that he was talking himself into Daniel Jones being good this year, it's like, that just tells you the problem right there. Because Eagles fans, it takes us like 1 year, not even like half a season. If we don't see it, especially with the quarterback, we're not going to blindly let them lead us, or like, oh, well, this could be the year. With Wentz, he had an outstanding 2017. So there was people that we get, like Michael Vick, they actually had success. Now Daniel Jones had a 9-7 season. But again, like, I don't know how many more seasons losing do you need that you're really going to cling on to that. And I mean, literally everyone was telling them, picked last for everything by every analyst. We're searching for wins. I actually picked them somehow because I just thought, like, they're at home. Minnesota's injured with Sam Darnold. I'm like, they got to win sometime, but I don't know if they're going to win a game this year. Maybe they'll beat Washington. Maybe they'll beat Washington because they always beat them. But besides that, like, I could see a 1-16. Like, seriously.
I mean, Bad Dog's obviously not going to see this, so I'll say it because he forgot where he came from. He has like 150,000 subscribers talking about the Lakers. So, I mean, I'll talk about him a little bit. The thing about Bad Dog is he says things for a ton of views. When it comes to Daniel Jones saying he's going to be a good quarterback, he doesn't genuinely believe that. No one believes that. No one with a human-sized brain believes that. Daniel Jones is just an awful quarterback that was picked out of Duke way too early.
But it's like, what other choice do the Giants fans? What other choice do the Giants fans have? Like, I do believe that he just talked himself into maybe he can be good this year. I actually do believe
it's not that he talked himself into it. He loves his team so much that he's actually believing he can do something. And the thing is, like, him and the Entertainer, when they drafted him 6 years ago, they both flipped out. Like, they
has it been 6 years already?
Yeah, like they saw a murder. They both hated the pick, and now they're like, "Oh, maybe he'll be good." No, there's a reason why you flipped on the pick. He sucks. He's not a good quarterback. He should have never been drafted there. And unfortunately, I'm going to say something. I miss the rivalry with the Giants. I really do. It was fun. They beat us. We beat them. They beat us.
In what year? The 2000s? That was a long
time man. Ago. I'm 30. I'm almost 32 years old. I was alive for that. So it's like I kind of miss that a little bit. And it's been such a long time. It's like, when is this team ever going to be good again? I don't think they're ever going to be good again. I might die before they're good again. It's just, I don't know. I don't get it. The Giants, it's like Philly 500 says, or like incompetence or whatever he says. It's delusional. They're just delusional, dude. And I'm just sick and tired of it.
No, I would agree. Do you have one more cancel, or do we move on to some?
It was just Brazil and the Giants.
So for me, of course, I already mentioned the Bengals. I'm not going to cancel them yet, but that was just a terrible, terrible game. For me, I have to cancel Deshaun Watson. Like, he's just number one for me. Given that outrageous
Not a shocker.
That just, again, yeah, his karma is coming to him, and I keep seeing that. Of course, they're not going to say that on air, at least not yet. I mean, no one's going to say. Maybe Stephen A. Smith would make that type of comment. He's the only one that's allowed to do that.
No, Stephen A. Smith would be like this: Deshaun Watson, what are you doing, my brother? What are you doing?
Honestly, I could see Shannon Sharp saying it because if you have your own platform, but you're not going to say it on like ESPN or
no. I mean, yeah,
he has not been good at all, and it's so embarrassing that Joe Flacco was successful and not him now. Like, it doesn't get any worse than that. And it also, there's been other quarterbacks who are like no names that have performed better with Kevin Stefanski in that offense. And again, you're paying him all that money, that contract that the entire league hated because it reset the market and fucked everything up. And now you also have Baker Mayfield doing well. I mean, I think he's being a little like, they beat Washington. They beat Washington. Whoop-de-doo. I mean, they did score 37 points.
Dude, he looks good.
Let's see him against, a good team, not Washington. Let's see them against us in a couple weeks, right? That's actually on the docket soon. So yeah, Deshaun Watson, and that was just a complete letdown because we both picked them to beat the Cowboys, and that game wasn't even competitive at all.
Nope.
So I am definitely canceling Deshaun Watson. And then, I'm not going to say the ones that you already did, the Giants, Brazil, obviously. And then for me, this is, goes without saying, but the Carolina Panthers to just completely get blown off of the field. Now, it was in the Superdome or whatever it's called now. The Saints are not that good. To literally lose 47-10 in week 1, almost 50-10 is pretty freaking terrible. And we know this team is in the pits. It's between them and the Giants for the worst team in the league. But it's not like, you drafted your first-round quarterback, top 5. You have Miles Sanders. I think they believe they still have Adam Thielen. You brought in a new head coach. They had all these other great coaches on the staff last year. I'm not sure who the hell is on their staff now. But again, to lose to a team that's mid, as far as we think in the Saints with Dennis Allen and Derek Carr as their quarterback head coach combo, like, you can't even do anything against them. What, like, do they play us? They play Dallas, like Kansas City. Like, what the hell are you going to do against those teams if you can't even be, competitive with a mid team? So they are just absolutely in the grave. Like, they're dead. Stick a fork in them. They're done already.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You got to be honest. I got to be honest with you. So after a game like that, I don't know who their backup is, but you kind of have to consider going to the backup because you want your franchise.
You're admitting that he's the boss.
Yeah, you want your franchise to not turn into the Giants, and you want it to turn quick because you do have some quality players there.
Like, but no one cares. Like, the Panthers could lose all their fans because it's not New York. It's a small market.
Yeah, but Adam Thielen's 34. He has some legs left, but not really. You have Xavier Legette, who I think has a lot of potential there. You have some decent players on this team that are just missing out on opportunities because the quarterback just stinks so bad. And I would just go to their backup and just cut it off. Say you made a mistake not drafting CJ Stroud and just call it a day. Like, that's it.
it hasn't even been. It's been what, a year and a game. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's what it is. This is the NFL, and we
He
know
doesn't have it. I just listen. I watched him play a full season. I watched him play on Sunday. He doesn't have it. Like he just doesn't have what it takes to play at this level. He's a Jamarcus Russell without the arm strength.
And we know David Temper, their newish owner, is like one of the worst owners in the league. He's just a terrible. I think he's a terrible person too. We're not going to get into that. And it's like you're setting your head coach up to fail. I mean, they already fired Frank Reich, right? Was it in the middle of last year?
Mm-hmm.
And now, like, you might as well fire this guy in the middle of the year because there's no hope in sight if you're going to get blown out every week. Again, I think they should have never traded Christian McCaffrey. That was terrible for them. Cam Newton's career ended early. Luke Kuechly. So honestly, if you put it all together, we don't really talk about the Panthers much, even though I did like them growing up. They were like my second or third team. I like the colors, whatever. But a lot of shit did happen to them that no one talks about because it's the Panthers. But they also, Jerry Richardson sold the team. Dave Gettleman left. He went back to New York. So that whole team basically just fell apart. Matt Rule was there. They tried that, and then they had Steve Wilkes. So they've just been all over the place. It is a shame. But again, I just, like you said, maybe go to the backup. And then they had Chris Taper last year after Frank Reich was fired. I'm trying to see who their backup is right now. Oh, it's Andy Dalton. Yeah, he'll definitely be playing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's a quality backup for sure. So, yeah. They also have Jadeveon Clowney somehow. I can't believe he would even sign there. He's just there for the paycheck, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
But you're right. I mean, Miles Sanders, Adam Thielen. It's freaking Jordan Matthews is there at tight end. But, yeah, poor Panthers fans. Maybe in like 5 years. Who knows? You guys have a huge – I don't even know, a fucking 25,000 feet hole to climb out of.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So yeah, that's who I'm canceling. Now we are going to get on to our picks, which I'm super excited again about this year. Actually, I'm sorry. It's Kyle's Fantasy Kingdom time, Kyle's Corner. Let's talk about your fantasy team. How did you do? Did you win your first game? I know you have multiple leagues.
All right, so in multiple leagues, let's get to the nitty-gritty. So in my ESPN league, my best team. All right, last year I kicked the dog shit. Last week I kicked the dog shit out of every single team in the league if I would have played them. I'm going to tell you my team on the ESPN league if it ever wants to load because it's taking forever. Still loading, man. Let's just put it this way. All right, I'm going to put on Wi-Fi for a second. It'll probably disrupt this.
Well, yeah, give us just like your top starters, like quarterback, running back.
All right, so my quarterback is Jordan Love. We'll see if he plays this week. I highly doubt it. But so my quarterback is Jordan Love. My running back is Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp, Travis Kelce, George Pickens, Deebo Samuel, Steelers defense, and Aubrey, the kicker on Dallas. That's my starting lineup. Last week, I went 1-0. I had a total score of 178.3, and I beat the other guy who had a 125.72. So that was a complete burial. That was a complete bloodbath. I could potentially go undefeated in this league, honestly, because I'm playing with people that clearly don't know what they're doing. And that's a $200 league. First place gets $1,500. So that's interesting.
Nice.
In my sleeper league, it's a 150 buy-in. It's a keeper league. People a little bit more knowledgeable in here. Not by much, but still a little bit more. My quarterback is Jalen Hurts. Running back, Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, Keenan Allen, Brandon Cooks, Tyler Lockett, George Kittle. My flex this week is Allen Lazard. I think he's going to be a stud. Aubrey on Dallas and the Jets defense. My bench is Justice Hill, who I just picked up. Zamir White from the Raiders, Xavier Legette, Dobbs from Green Bay, Christian Watson from Green Bay, and Jordan Addison, who may not play this week. So that is my team on that side. It's a little bit weaker than the one on ESPN, but I have faith in that one too because I'm going to use my brains. But both 1-0, and I couldn't be happier.
Congrats, man. Can't wait to see your updates. Of course, I'm wishing you the best in that league, especially with the $1,500 jackpot. I know you'll keep us up to date every single week.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are moving on to our weekly picks. Only thing we did forget, I told you not to tell me the line of the Eagles Falcons game because I wanted to guess it, and I haven't looked at it yet. Now, with the current vibe, and obviously we think this is just going to be a straight up Eagles win, it's got to be at least Eagles by 7.
Right now it is Eagles -6.5.
All right, so I'm pretty much spot on. Do you think it's going to go up?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, if people think the way we are, if we think it's going to be easy, then it could reach 8 by kickoff, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was almost tempted to say almost like 10, but that is a little high. Especially
the money line is a -300. So if you pick them to win outright, you have to risk 300 to win 100.
Yeah, so that tells you pretty much all you need to know, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to week 2. As like I said, I have a very, very, very slight lead on Kyle so far in our 2024 weekly picks. First game, which I honestly totally forgot. We have a game tomorrow night. Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime Video starts again. It's actually a really good one to start the season, so good for them. I believe Al Michaels is still calling those games, which he's a little old in the tooth, but I really wish it was Jason Kelsey taking over commentary.
Oh God.
So we have the Buffalo Bills 1-0 at the Miami Dolphins 1-0. Both of these teams obviously won. Now the Cardinals played them very, very close at home. That was also a surprise and would have been a really shocker if the Cardinals beat the Bills. Even though we know the Bills kind of play teams close. Miami, an impressive win against Jacksonville. Nice close game. But I'm taking the Bills here just because it's a division game. I think that they want to get that close Cardinals game, that taste out of their mouth. And overall, Josh Allen is better than Tua. Also, the Dolphins are dealing with that very, very unfortunate Tyreek Hill situation from Sunday, which is just literally disgusting. I don't even want to mention it. Hopefully, everyone involved gets, can just move on and feel better about that soon.
That's why I love you, Scotty. You're like, we're not going to talk about anything politically, and you're like, oh, it's so disgusting what happened. I love you, Scotty. I really do.
Well, I mean, it's hard to mention because you see your teammate get thrown on the ground like that, and we know someone else died that same way. But again, I'm picking the Bills just because of all that controversy, and I do think Josh Allen's better than Tua. What say you?
Yeah, I think the Bills are going to win this game as well. I'm actually agreeing. I think the Bills are better. Josh Allen's better than Tua, like you said. I want to see more from Keon Coleman. I think he's going to be a stud in this league. Running back wise, you have James Cook. He's a beast. I think they have the better coach. I think Mike McDaniels is a doofus. And this week, I don't think Tyreek Hill is going to get arrested. So that may be a point of him not running out of the stadium. So I think the Bills will win this game fairly convincingly. I have them by 10.
Next game, Raiders at Ravens. Should be pretty quick. Ravens looked really good against the Chiefs. Raiders are irrelevant again this year, so Baltimore for me.
Got Baldy?
I do.
Okay, I'm going to look real quick. All right, so this game is the Ravens by 8.5. It's on the money line. It's -450, which means you're risking 450 win.
That line's a little high, but I can understand why.
It's an NFL game. It's a little high. But I have the Ravens. The Ravens are going to lose back-to-back games, especially being at home against a team that's not really good. I mean, I feel bad for Antonio Pierce because, I think he has potential to be a really good NFL head coach, but probably not with the Raiders. They have Gardner Minshew. He's not that great. I like Gardner, but he's not that great. Running back situation is a little bit concern. You have Zamir White, and you have.
I feel bad for Devontae Adams. Hopefully, he gets traded out of there at the trade deadline. Come on.
Yeah, you have Alexander Madison going with Zamir White in the running back field. Devontae Adams, like you just mentioned, he's the only real target they have other than Brock Bowers at tight end, but he's a rookie. So it's a disgrace. I think the Ravens
they need a quarterback so bad.
Yeah, I think the Ravens win by a lot in that game.
Next game, another quick one. Chargers at Panthers. We just went over the Panthers franchise in depth. Jim Harbaugh is back with Justin Herbert. They had an okay performance. Again, they were playing the Raiders.
Yeah.
They should be if you want to, make a statement and just put up freaking 50 points, this is definitely the game to do that. And you're playing the worst team in the league. So I have the Chargers starting off 2-0, which is good for them because we know that they just, that they're due for a good year. Like they just always disappoint. So let's have them start off 2-0.
I mean, I'm disagreeing with you that they're due for a good year. No one's due for a good year in the NFL.
Like the stars are aligned for them. Like
not really. I do like what happened with J.K. Dobbins. I know I want to see him do well this year because he's been injured the last 2 years. That'll be great. They don't have any wide receivers. The best wide receiver is Joshua Palmer, and he's like a 3 at best on the Philadelphia Eagles. So, yeah, I mean, the Chargers will win this game just because the Carolina Panthers are just a poor franchise. But at the end of the day, I don't think the Chargers are that good either. But give me the Chargers.
They do have Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, but they're going to beat – they can finally beat bad teams, which is like a step in the right direction for the Chargers.
Yeah, that's fine.
Next game should be a good one. And I wasn't really torn of who I was going to pick, but, it's Saints at Cowboys, 1 o'clock on Fox. We really can't judge the Saints because they beat up on that lowly cat team that we keep talking about. Cowboys, they got it done. They were the underdog, which really for them doesn't happen too often. Against the Browns, they took care of business. They would just play the clean game. Micah Parsons was very good. Kind of pains me to say, but I hope they lose. But I'm going to pick Dallas to win at home.
Yeah, they're not going to lose. Dallas never loses at home. They had a really good showing at Cleveland, which again pains me to say, like you said, because they looked phenomenal. They're not losing this game. I mean, the Saints, they beat up on a divisional rival. I get it. But Derek Carr going to Dallas after Dallas lost in embarrassing fashion to Green Bay last year in the playoffs. I mean, they're not going to open up with a loss. It's not going to happen. Give me the Cowboys.
Next game, and this could be the game of the week so far, unless you want to say Bills-Dolphins, but the Dolphins usually never show up in big games. It's Bucks at Lions, and I'm kind of surprised this game's at 1 o'clock and not a different time slot. And this is the test that I'm happy that Baker Mayfield is getting so early. Now they are going to be battle tested for when they play us in a few weeks, but ultimately the Lions are a better team. They did let the Rams come back into the game on Sunday night, but ultimately they got the job done, and that's all that matters. Give me the Lions here. The Lions are at home, and I don't. And this is a rematch of last year in the playoffs. So you have that storyline, but I think it's going to be the same result. Lions over the Bucks. What's the line for this game? I'm sure it's probably like Lions by 3.
7.5 Lions.
Wow. What?
Yeah.
Does that make any sense to you?
No, and I'm going to take the Buccaneers outright in this game, and here's why. The Lions last week, they looked honestly not that great, to be honest with you. Amon-Ra St. Brown got completely shut down, and he's supposed to be their workhorse. They didn't look fluent, especially because of that, especially with that crowd rocking. And when Puka Nacua went out, the Rams actually got better, with Cooper Kupp getting every single target. And to me, I feel like watching the Buccaneers last week, now granted, it was against the Commodores. I understand that. But you have to understand something. Baker Mayfield meshes very well with this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. I don't know what it is about this Buccaneers franchise. They find these guys that could just bring them wins. They have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. They have White at running back. Them being a 7.5-point underdog on the road is embarrassing, to be honest with you. The Buccaneers are going to win this game, and they're going to win it by 3 points. I have the Buccaneers win this game outright by 3 points.
Yeah, I guess people are just, assuming the Lions, that NFC Championship team. I mean, they did beat the Rams. It was a good team, but like you said, wasn't their best showing. They let the Rams come back into it. If this game was in Tampa, I think my opinion would be a little bit different. I probably would still pick the Lions. But
we have a comment from Thanos Heisenberg. Did Dallas look, and that's from Twitch, our first Twitch commenter. Did Dallas look phenomenal, or has Cleveland lost all hope with Watson? So I think it's a little bit
the latter for me.
I think it's a little bit of both. Now he hates Deshaun Watson. There's a good reason they hate him too. I agree with him, but Dallas's defense is very good. Like, they're a very good defense. And Deshaun Watson, he's coming off of injury last year. So it's a little bit of both for me. I don't think Watson is as bad as everyone's saying he is. I think he still has talent. People just don't like him for obvious reasons, and we're not going to talk about it. But I don't.
But he's not playing well either.
But he's not as bad as people are saying he is.
He was on Sunday.
Yeah, because he was playing Dallas, and it was his first game back in a year calendar year. So
no, he played a little bit last year.
Joe Flacco played.
That was at the end of the season.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to cut him some slack.
Yeah, but they were at home, and the game wasn't even close.
Yeah,
Cowboys.
Like me and Scott don't really agree on anything when it comes to real world situations, but I agree with him on this. Deshaun Watson is a piece of shit, and I hope he doesn't have success. But I use my eyes. Like, he's not as bad as he looked on Sunday. It just is what it is.
And I was a huge fan of him in Houston. I mean, he was like, you could have made an argument that he was a top 3 quarterback. Like, that's how well he was playing. He had that magic in his feet and his hand. It was a great watch. Great quarterback.
Magic in his hand.
Oh God, I didn't even. I really didn't plan that. I swear to God.
Yeah.
But yeah, ever since that whole thing, it's been awful for him.
Brent Skomowski says, "I'm going to take the Eagles -9.5. Is that a good? It's a very good bet. I'm saying it right now. It's an extremely good bet.
No, it is. This is definitely the week to not. I mean, is that going out on a limb a tiny bit because it's literally it is 9.5 points though.
No, not at all.
It's a good week to do it though.
Very
for sure.
And if you lose, at least you lost knowing you were on the right side. It just happens.
Next game, a little bit of intrigue in this game, and I'm interested to know the line. It's Colts at Packers. Now, I'm picking the Packers here because I feel like, the obvious narrative would be like, Jordan Love's hurt. He's not playing. I was actually looking up because I don't even know who the Packers backup is. I know they said his name.
Malik Willis.
Malik Willis, yeah. Was he the one that was on the Titans? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he is nothing to write home about. But I think the Packers have talent. And again, I feel like this game might be like Colts by 1 or Colts by 2 or Packers by 1. But I do think the Packers will win just because they're more talented. And again, they can just lean on Josh Jacobs. And we know we're just playing them. They have a good team. And they're better than the Colts.
Yeah, give me the Colts. So the Packers are 3-point underdogs at home with
that's
on opening day.
High.
The Colts, they have Anthony Richardson, who has a fucking arm. Jonathan Taylor didn't look great last week, but he still got a touchdown. I think he's going to rev it up. And they have a decent amount of wide receivers to throw to. So give me the Colts. I think they go 1-1 to start the year.
Next game, Browns at Jags. Jags played very well last week. Couldn't get the win against Miami, but I did think Miami would win because they were at home. And again, I think it's going to be a bad year for Cleveland. I really, really do. And of course, I like a lot of players on their team. I like their head coach, Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett. And I think the Browns will play better, but it's on the road. Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence. Give me the Jags here.
Woof, 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 woof. Give me the dogs. Give me the Browns. So Jaguars are a -3 at home. So I found out
Oh yeah, I do agree with that. I thought it was Browns -3.
I found a lot about the Jaguars last week. They're choke artists. And honestly, the Miami Dolphins didn't look great to start that game. And they just let him come back in. I love Doug Peterson. I love what he's doing. But at the end of the day, the Browns, they looked bad last week. They looked extremely bad. And they're not going to go 0-17. So this is one of those games where I think the Browns shock the sports world and they actually win this game. I think they play as a team, and I think they play for Deshaun Watson because he's taken a lot of criticism, and I think they win. So give me the Browns.
Yeah, I feel like the Browns are feeling a lot of pressure. Obviously, whoever loses this game is going to be 0-2. I think the Jags are a better at this point. They're a better team. Now, last week I wouldn't have said that, But yeah, I don't trust the Browns right now.
All right, so off topic, and then we'll get back into it. Do you think the Sixers? I'm going to answer this one. Do you think the Sixers get a stadium in Center City? The proposal is going on live right now. No, I don't think it's going to happen because I don't know how they can happen. So we're going to go back to the bet lines.
I'll give my 2 cents because that has gone back and forth so many times of yes, no, maybe so. They're revising the plans, shopping area, what's it going to be in the off season. Where they want to put it, obviously, is where the what the hell is it called? Whatever, that mall that's kind of irrelevant. It's a movie theater. I used to work right across from there. Fashion District used to be called the Gala. So I would love to see something there. Again, I would not hate it, but the biggest factors are obviously, well, the number one thing is you're destroying all of Chinatown and taking all those businesses away and those people's homes, which is just absolutely horrible. That's the number one thing. And then obviously, the traffic and all that shit. But the number one thing is Chinatown for me. So it's just like, I don't know. It overall probably negative, but it's going to be beautiful. Put it somewhere else, I guess. I don't know.
Good old Camden. All right, back to the betting lines.
Next game, Niners, Vikings. This should be pretty easy. San Francisco for me. Just, best team versus a backup quarterback.
You know what?
Vikings did beat them last year.
The Vikings are a +6 at home. That means the 49ers are laying some juice on the money line. Give me the Vikings outright in this game, and I'll explain why. I think the Vikings last week, not only because they were playing the Giants, I think Sam Darnold's rejuvenated with Addison and Jefferson as his 2 wide receivers.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and I think him being at home will help a lot. He's playing in a dome. He's playing on turf. He really doesn't have any pressure because he's not really expected to do much. So the 49ers last week looked phenomenal. I'm not taking anything away from them. They did lose to him last year. And I just feel like this is one of those games where the Vikings just win. Give me the Vikings. I like them this week.
I don't see that happening because we know firsthand the 49ers wanted to beat us so bad. I would not be surprised if that's what they're saying last week. Like, we let this team beat us. Like, the 49ers obviously have a huge ego, and they remember shit like this to get, like, revenge. And again, 49ers are just better, and I think they're going to come in there, and I don't really see how it's close because, Nick Bosa and that whole crew, and I don't know. You're right. The Vikings wide receiver core is one of, they're definitely top 5, Jefferson and Addison, but I'm taking the Niners.
All right, I'm going to fact check something real quick before I say it. Oh, wow, he is. Wow, Conor McGregor is going to be at Chicky and Pete's tomorrow in Philly.
Oh, really? In South Philly?
South Philadelphia. He's in Brick, New Jersey right now. Maybe he'll be advertising a fight in MSG.
I wonder what is he going to be on, like, the radio, or is it just like a live promotion thing? That's kind of wild.
Yeah, it is wild. It's really wild. That would be cool if he fought in Philly.
Next game, Seahawks, Pats. Both of these teams kind of, to me, surprisingly 1-0. It's at New England. Honestly, give me the Patriots here. Why not keep their little run of magic going? The Seahawks are, Geno Smith did not look good last week, especially playing the Broncos, who are another mess of a franchise. I'm taking the Patriots. I think that if you were on that team, how could you not be, I don't even know, just happy, rejuvenated, like positive energy? So I think the Patriots, surprisingly, no one had this starting this season 2-0.
Yeah, that's a good story. Give me the Seahawks. So the reason why is because the Seattle Seahawks, I don't know what anyone was smoking watching that game, or what anyone could say that it's just the Seahawks are not going to be good this year. I thought the Seahawks looked fluent. I really did.
What about Geno Smith?
Geno Smith, he's not great, but the Patriots have Jacoby Brissett. So it's like
they beat Joe Burrow.
They beat him. It was the first week of the season. Upsets happen. It just happens. I don't think the Patriots are a good football team. I'm sorry, I don't. So give me Seattle until Patriots prove me otherwise.
Next game, perfect game for the Jets. They couldn't really have asked for anything better. It's Jets at Titans. The Jets don't win here. They're just done. Like, they're irrelevant if they can't beat the Tennessee Titans. Hopefully this is an Aaron Rodgers game where he can start looking and feeling like the old Aaron Rodgers, throw at least 2 touchdowns, maybe 3. And I think that's a good chance of that happening. I'm not like 100% sold that it will, because I don't think the Jets looked good at all. Even
Brett Skamoski is asking you a question.
Sorry, I got the picks pulled up. Did Scotty used to work at Chickies? Yes, I did. I worked there for 3 years. I was a server. Seen a lot.
Now, if you want to ask him if he liked it, I don't know if he'll answer that. But he did work.
No, I did overall. Met a lot of my best friends there. I actually served Brian Westbrook. He was sat at my table one time. Jason Peters. Met a lot of people from WIP. So yeah, that was a great experience.
And now one of his good friends that he knew there works on a podcast on Fox Sports. So
kind of, I would say acquaintance, but yeah, we'll say that. Next game, which I didn't know this was happening already. It's Giants-Washington, which are just such terrible games and irrelevant games. This is at Washington. I have no idea who to pick here. I guess you got to go with the Commanders because they're at home. Giants always find a way against Washington, but they looked so bad last week. So I'm sorry. Or who are you taking in Jets-Titans? My bad.
Oh, who am I taking? Jets? The Jets. The Titans are awful.
All right, and back to
the Titans are a 3-point underdog at home, by the way. So,
I'm taking Washington over the Giants.
Yeah, me too. I mean, listen, I'm going to explain why I'm taking the Commodores over the Giants. Now, here's the thing: Daniel Jones is awful. The fan base stinks. The coach stinks. The GM stink. They could possibly win this game, but I don't care. I'm picking against the Giants every single game this year because they're just that bad. If I pick the Giants in a game this year, you guys could slap me in the face. I'm never going to do it. They're not a good team. I'm always going to pick against them. Give me the Commodores.
Next game, we are finally into the 4:00 games. This is kind of a hard game to pick just because of how well the Cardinals traveled to Buffalo at 1 p.m. and almost beat the Bills. It's Rams at Cardinals. Rams obviously came back against the Lions, could not finish it out. But surprisingly, this is kind of like, I don't know, like I want to pick the Cardinals, but then the Rams being 0-2, it's in Arizona. I'm going to take the Rams. I'm tempted to take the Cardinals, but the Rams are just more talented. Yeah, I'm taking – this is going to be a very close game for me, though.
Yeah, so the Cardinals are a -1.5 at home. They had a good showing in Buffalo, but
good for them.
Kyler Murray's awful. So I'm going to go with the Rams here. I know that Puka Nacua was put on the injured reserve. I understand that, but they looked better without Puka Nacua. I think they looked more fluent with Kupp in there. They have decent running backs. They have like 5 of them, and they have a better. Well, I mean, I can't really say that because I'll be hypocritical. I think Jonathan Gannon is a really good head coach, but Sean McVay won a Super Bowl, so I'll give him the edge. They're going to go there. They're going to win, and the Cardinals will start 0-2 because Kyler Murray's off.
Are you surprised that the Cardinals are favored?
A little bit, but usually when you're home, you get 3 points to start, and they're only 1.5.
Mm-hmm. And they looked good last week.
Yes.
Next game, kind of a doozy, and another kind of hard game to pick. It's Steelers at the Broncos in Mile High. We know that altitude fucking thing. And the Broncos just looked terrible.
Yeah.
The only thing I will say, Bo Nix, I watched his press conference, a random clip from him. He sounds pretty good. He sounds like a leader. I know he didn't play well last week, and this Sean Payton experience is really a fail right now for them. But again, the Steelers don't have an offense, especially. I think Russell Wilson is going to play in Denver. And how could I forget? This is a revenge game for Russell Wilson, going back to that horrible experience in Denver.
Yeah.
Oh God, this is just. I don't
This is
even
really
know.
tough.
Oh, you don't think it's tough?
No, not at all.
I guess you're picking the Steelers. I'm
Yeah.
actually gonna go Broncos because they're at home. I think they can win by a field goal. This could be an upset special.
Yeah, it could be an upset special, but it's not going to be. Give me the Steelers minus 2.5. It doesn't matter which quarterback's playing, Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. They have more talent. They have a better coach. Sean Payton's a total fraud. Bo Nix stinks. He might be worse than Kyler Murray, honestly. And the Broncos are going to go 0-2.
Well, Bo Nick, he's a rookie, so I mean,
Doesn't matter.
played one game, and he played in Seattle, which we know we've never won there, so we know it's not easy. This is which should have been the game of the week, but now we have no idea what's going on with Joe Burrow and the Bengals and the Jamar Chase situation with the contract. This is like the America's game of the week, CBS. Bengals at the Chiefs. I just, we know Patrick Mahomes' record versus Joe Burrow, and that's, the intriguing thing about this game. But it's like, do you really have any faith in the Bengals after last week, or will we just history repeat itself and how the Bengals match up against the Chiefs?
Mm-hmm.
But you would be an idiot to pick against the Chiefs at this point in time. So I would have to go Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm going Kansas City. They're 6-point favorites at home. I think it'll be a closer game than expected just because that record against Joe Burrow. But the Bengals, they look flat right now. They don't have T. Higgins. Jamar Chase wants a contract. They don't have any running backs to rely on. Yeah, I got to go with the more fluent team that started out the season 1-0. Give me the Chiefs.
And our last game, because we already both picked the Eagles over the Falcons on Monday night. And this is actually this should be a pretty fun, entertaining game. It's the Chicago Bears at the Houston Texans. And finally, the Bears you have a good feeling about them because they always get this primetime game. Usually it's versus the Packers, which is I hate that game when they put that on primetime. Obviously, I'm going to take the Texans here just because of the experience. They're at home. But this should be a really good game. I don't really see the Bears winning because they just barely beat the Titans last week. But, I mean, I'm excited to see two young, most exciting young quarterbacks right now with the most upside and the highest ceiling go head-to-head for the first time ever. But I'm taking Houston.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game, but give me Houston. I agree.
Awesome. Alrighty, so our picks are in. Obviously, our lock of the week, Cincinnati. I know you picked to Seattle, but I'm still going to say that it's what you do on this podcast.
Mm-hmm. It is, yeah, I agree.
So my lock of the week, and I feel like because last week we kind of went with like the overwhelming, like I was knocked out of my survivor pool. I feel like half of the country was because everyone had the Bengals over the Patriots.
Yep.
My lock of the week. I don't know if there was one this week. I guess you could say Chargers over the Panthers, but yeah, I guess that's my lock. It would have to be because we got to just get back on like a little bit of a roll here since we were wrong last week. I'm going to take the Chargers over the Panthers for my lock.
That's your lock?
Yeah.
All right. So in my suicide pool and on the show, I'm going to pick the same opponent as the lock of the week. Give me the Indianapolis Colts as the lock of the week.
Wow. That's kind of dicey, but I don't know. Packers are at home. If they were out on the road.
Nah, Malik Willis stinks.
Also, another one you could do if you, as in any advice, even though I just fucking got knocked out, Baltimore over the Raiders. That's definitely a lock.
Could be a good one. I agree.
Wow. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, this is the end of our show. Of course, again, we will be at Falcons Eagles from the link live on Monday night. Great show. Covered a lot. Hope you guys liked some of the new segments that we introduced. Going to be trying a lot of new things as the season goes on. Going to be bringing on some guests, some special guests, some diehard Eagles fans, people that we know personally, YouTubers. Let us know what you want to see. Comment, like, subscribe on all of our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitch, X, and YouTube. And yeah, go Birds. Kyle, any final thoughts? We will see you live from the stadium. Most likely we'll be doing some type of live stream before and after. But yeah, we're in the thick of the season. Eagles look to be really good, and let's get on that winning streak. Let's pile up some W's.
Yeah, Brent, and you said you watched me since 2015. So I mean, yeah, I mean, you can ask crazy questions. I really don't care. As long as it's not like politically, because like I said, me and him are like completely on different sides of the spectrum when it comes to politics. So we'll keep that at bay. But at the same time, anything, yeah. I mean, if you have something to ask me or him, go for it. But yeah, I mean, it's been a long time. I obviously rebranded the channel to Fly Like an Eagle Podcast. We're actually deciding whether or not to keep that name because some Joe Schmo like decided to steal it when I was not doing the show. So I mean, we will find maybe if we find a better name. Well, not better because I do like this name, but if we find a name that's original, maybe we'll change it. But for the most part, this show has been a major success thus far. And like he said, we're going to be at the game on Monday against Atlanta. We don't know where we're sitting yet, but we will do a post game from the stadium. I'm going to be on my best behavior this time. If I do have an alcoholic beverage, I'm going to cut myself off well before the game so I can take you guys questions or whatever. And should be a good time watching a blowout. Can't wait.
Absolutely. I think we both think Eagles win big. Again, so excited that the season is here. Again, we're going to have some tougher days and games ahead. So let's kill the Falcons and let's again put on a complete game on a national stage, standalone game. And the Eagles are coming, and we're about to let the whole league know.
Absolutely. They're here to stay. They're going to win the Super Bowl this year, and that's pretty much it. So with that said, we are out. We'll see you guys on Monday. And as always, go Birds. Peace out.
Go Birds. Have a great week, guys.